PvP in MMORPGs and their player base is a bit of a mystery. Over the past few years, many players have been clamoring for an open world PvP-focused MMO, but strangely, none of these games seem to last. Every release starts with a bang and is only followed by a steep decline. We've seen this happen repeatedly to games like ArcAge, Wayfinder, Aeon, Gloria Victis, and New World, just to name a few. But why is that? You see, PvP in MMOs is incredibly challenging to get right because players have certain expectations these days. In my opinion, even if one aspect is off, the game is bound to fail. First and foremost, PvP needs to be balanced. If one class or spec or skill consistently dominates the gameplay, it becomes stale. MMO players are notorious for figuring out the meta and sticking to it, so if the PvP becomes a one-sided affair with everyone playing the same spec, it quickly gets boring. Next, there has to be a delicate balance between risk and reward. If players don't feel rewarded for their time, they'll stop playing. On the flip side, if there is no incentive for being better than others, they'll quit too. But if the gap between skill levels becomes too wide, the lower skilled players will abandon the game, leaving only the top tier, until there's no one left. This is why full loot on death PvP will never break into the mainstream. And most importantly, the playing field has to be even enough that anyone with enough skill can win a fight. But that also means cutting out a lot of potential monetization. Anything in the cash shop that gives a player advantage in PvP is a quick path to a game's demise. Yet despite all these challenges, developers keep trying to create MMOs that focus almost entirely on PvP. Personally, I've never been a big fan of PvP in MMORPGs, and I know many others feel the same. So imagine my surprise then when I picked up Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning initially as part of my MMORPG Shovelware Bingo series and found myself actually having fun in a PvP-centric MMO. After just one episode on my channel, I've already had to break the original format because I can't help but share my experience with Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning, and it wouldn't feel right to put it in the MMO Shovelware series. So sit back, enjoy, and we will explore this game together. Warhammer Online actually has quite an interesting story, even to this day. The game was developed by Mythic Entertainment, whose only major release in the decade before Warhammer Online was the MMO Dark Age of Camelot. Back in the day, Dark Age of Camelot received solid reviews, so we had a studio develop Warhammer Online that seems to know how to handle fantasy MMOs. On top of that, it was published by EA, back when EA hadn't yet had its big fall from grace. So, all in all, things were looking pretty solid. It also had the massive Warhammer Fantasy IP behind it. Now, I should mention, I'm a huge TTRPG nerd. I DM different role-playing games twice a week, and that's why I'm always hoping for a good adaptation of these expansive worlds. The only other MMO adaptation that comes to mind is Neverwinter, and well, that's just a pay-to-win mess. So yeah, I was all in for Warhammer getting an MMO adaptation. That being said, Warhammer Online was my first real introduction to the 40k universe, but even if I was new to the IP, there was still plenty to like right from the start. So let's look at what we had. An established studio that knew how to make MMOs, a huge beloved IP, and a solid publisher. The game launched in 2008 with 800,000 subscribers and was pretty well received by the press. But even early on, user scores on Metacritic hinted at some trouble. The game had fun PvP, but the endgame content was lacking. It was incredibly grindy, with progression feeling painfully slow. Fans of the Warhammer IP didn't think the game did the franchise any justice, and PvP balancing patches weren't coming as often as they should have either. Within a few months, the player base dropped under 300,000 subscribers. By the end of 2009, the game was operating at a staggering $1 billion loss, just for the first fiscal year. And after years of server shutdowns, Warhammer Online finally closed in 2013. According to Wikipedia, Mythic was working on 2 more Warhammer Online titles, but since it's been over a decade, it's safe to assume those were cancelled after the first game's commercial failure. Fans of the game were desperate to find something to fill the void, a PvP gameplay loop that no other game had replicated. And from that desire, the Return of Reckoning project was born. I might have to get close to the microphone just so I can empathize how much I respect these guys after playing this game thanks to them. In April 2024, this passion project was born and has been running ever since. On their website, they proudly state, "Since then, we have spent more time developing this game than the original game was in service, re-implementing content to bring it back to the live state, making balances to classes, recreating old live events, and even making our new custom content for the bits and pieces we found while deconstructing the client files, as well as creating our own content from scratch. The future possibilities are only limited by our respect for the source material, the technical skill of our team members, and the imagination of the community at large. After seeing the dedication of the team behind this project, I truly believe it. If you need more proof, just scroll to their landing page. As of writing the script, the latest balance and content update was released at the beginning of the month, and the most recent event update came just over a week ago. So yes, they're still going strong. What's even more impressive is that I really tried to find a way to throw money at those developers. And after half an hour of scouring their website, I couldn't find any way to give them my hard-earned cash. No matter how much you want to, you won't be able to donate those developers. Seriously, guys, give us at least a donation link so we can support your amazing work. I found the following quote in the Warhammer wiki. Unlike other MMORPGs private servers, Return of Reckoning, abbreviated as ROR, is strictly free. No store and no donations are accepted. The obvious reasons are 1. Keeping the project away from any financial disputes with the Warhammer's IP owner, Games Workshop, and 2. The complete opposition of having any paywalls or advantages through payments. Sheebus, my respect for these developers keep growing the more I learn about them. Now, the server isn't perfect. Most of the problems we encountered were mainly aesthetic nature.
Hey, I'm just... Oh, whoops. What does my horse do? Whoop!
But honestly, this game feels more alive and cared for than a lot of the shovelware MMOs I'm sure I'll be playing in the future. So here's my experience as an avid avoider of PvP and MMOs when jumping into Warhammer Online. By the way, if you want to watch me play and experience those games live and watch me mentally deteriorate, you can join me on twitch.tv/thatbiologystudent or watch my archives of the streams on youtube.com/thatbiologystudent. My first dive into the game happened on one of my short stream days, which is my low effort, no preparation day. In hindsight, that might have been a mistake, but more on that in a bit. I started up the game and was immediately impressed by the race and class selection. There are 2 factions, Chaos and Order, each made up of 3 races, and within each of those races you get to choose from 4 unique classes. So let's do some quick math to see how much variety we're dealing with here. In parentheses, 3 plus 3 times 4 equals 24 unique classes. That's quite the selection, and honestly it puts some of the bigger MMOs to shame. I tend to gravitate towards the goody two-shoes of races, sue me. So I picked the Empire and rolled the Bright Wizard, your classic caster mainly for aesthetics. First mistake. A few later told me that I had chosen one of the worst classes for a newcomer because of how complex it is to play.
Is it? I don't know. I just chose the thing that looked the coolest.
We later fixed that by switching to the Warrior Priest, a melee-based healer. Yes, you heard that right. Finally, a healer that can smash enemies with a huge hammer and heal even harder. And even though this game is PvP focused, the classic Holy Trinity of tank, DPS and healer is still there, and each class has its role in PvP. After creating my character, I was greeted with a pretty well-made cutscene. The beginning, however, was a bit slow. That was maybe my fault since the game is known for its repetitive quest design, but whatever. Most of the early quests are simple, go here, kill that, come back types. What I didn't realize at the time was that you can jump into PvP right from the start to level up, which I tried on my second playthrough and it was way more enjoyable. Still, on that first attempt, I slogged through the boring quests until I got 2 quests that completely changed my view of the game. Number 1 was complete a skirmish. Number 2, kill 10 players in a realm versus realm fight. At this point I quickly ditched the dull quests and headed straight for the big RVR area while queuing for the skirmishes in the meantime. The skirmish popped first, and even though I was running around like a headless chicken, I actually felt impactful. Despite spending hours getting ganked because I had no idea what I was doing, I was still having a blast.
Attack thing. No, you stop it. Oh. Ah. That hurt. I should get away from here. Nope. Too late.
Skirmishes in Warhammer Online are comparable to WoW's battlegrounds. The size and scope vary. I've fought skirmishes with only 3 players per side and others with 20 plus. As someone who thrives on chaos, I enjoyed the larger battles much more than I did the smaller ones. And that's perfect because large-scale PvP battles are the game's main selling point. After finishing the skirmish, I completed the quest and headed straight to my starting zone's realm vs realm map. So what is realm vs realm RVR? In almost every map except the cities, you have these red circled areas like this. As soon as you enter one of those areas, you're automatically flagged for PvP. Now, you're fighting for control over the map. The goal is to get your faction to 100% by capturing points and delivering supplies to your base. Once your faction reaches 100%, you need to capture all the points. When that happens, the RVR battle concludes and you move on to the next map to do it all over again. This is, in my opinion, where the real fun begins. Take a look at a few of those battles I participated and witnessed during my rank 1 to 16 gameplay.
Oh no. Ah, again. Yes, finally some battles with more than just everyone stockpiling one person.
And from what I've seen, it only gets more chaotic and lively in higher level RVR areas. Just look at this battle I stumbled into before I even understood the level requirements.
Let's go. I think even it says from level 10 onwards I might still be a little bit low level-wise, but this looks so much more fun. But I don't think I can just sprint right in like I did before, but I can smite him. And oh god, I do no damage to that person. And they do a...
I was having an absolute blast on stream, and at one point a viewer popped in and said the following.
Let's just go back there. Thank you.
From that moment on, my goal was clear. Reach rank 16 and experience one of those massive RVR battles firsthand from beginning to end and contribute in a meaningful way. So that's exactly what I set out to do. There are 2 main progression systems in Warhammer Online, at least from what I could gather.
To get leveled
First,
up,
you have your rank, which is essentially just your character level.
That's
As you progress, you
I
unlock the usual suspects. Specialization points, attributes, gear upgrades, and so on. You can increase your rank by participating in almost anything, whether it's PvE or PvP, with a level cap set at 40. Then there's your renown rank, which in theory goes all the way up to 255. But to give you an idea of how realistic it is to hit that, let me share 2 quotes from the Return of Reckoning wiki. And keep in mind this server has been around for almost a decade now. Though the maximum renown rank is 255, no player ever has legitimately achieved this. Renown rank 100 is so difficult to achieve that only 2 players on the entire server have ever done that. So yeah, don't expect me to hit the cap during the course of my extensive investigation into the game. But hey, feel free to give it a shot yourself, I believe in you. As you level up your renown rank, you earn renown skill points, which can be spent on abilities that enhance your healing, damage, tankiness, and so on. However, most of these bonuses only apply in PvP. You can gain renown experience by participating in any PvP activity, including skirmishes, RVR, city sieges, and more. Now, as for gear progression, at least in the early game, it's pretty straightforward. You earn war crests from participating in PvP activities, which you can exchange for gear at various milestone levels. Between those checkpoints, you'll also receive gear drops from RVR battles and skirmishes, helping bridge any gaps. So as long as you're actively PvPing, you'll always have enough crests to stay geared and competitive. If you're planning to play Age of Reckoning, you shouldn't expect A-tier levels of polish. There are two main reasons for this. First, from what I've gathered in conversations with my viewers, the game was never particularly polished even at launch. And second, this is a passion project maintained by a handful of dedicated people in their spare time. Don't get me wrong, they are doing an incredible job, especially compared to some of the cash grab MMOs on the market. But it's important to remember that there isn't a full-time development team behind this project. That said, I'm happy to report that most of the issues I encountered were purely aesthetic. You might see your horse vibrating, animations freezing up, or the game struggling to decide whether a player is dead or not. One particularly funny bug I found is when you emote while riding your horse, your character stands up straight like a flagpole, and sometimes doesn't sit back down. It's absolutely hilarious riding into battle standing tall like that.
Was that always like that? Did you stand on your horse when you're jumping?
What a power move. However, there's one feature in the game that's both a blessing and a curse, and that's the collision mechanics. Everything in the game has a large collision box, including the player character models. This means if you're playing a big bulky orc, you can literally block other players from entering gates or doorways, which adds an extra layer of strategy to the PvP battles. I actually love this aspect. Imagine blocking an entire enemy force by parking one massive character up front, backed up by 10 healers keeping them alive. It's hilarious and opens up new tactics that I'd love to see in other MMOs. But here's the curse. Navigating maps with multiple players can get pretty awkward. Objects seem to have an uneven or oversized collision box, so you'll often find yourself getting stuck on random things and having to backtrack to free yourself. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Rocks? Yep.
Oh, where's everyone? What?
Fences? Absolutely.
Here. Probably, isn't it?
Ledges? Of course.
And I'm stuck.
The list goes on. Also, good luck trying to jump up something with a group of people. The collision on player models makes it almost impossible to coordinate. Unless you have a perfectly organized group that goes one at a time, which, let's be real, won't happen with 20 random people, you'll just have a chaotic mess of players trying and failing to get over that ledge.
I talked about earlier. Come on. Come on, let me jump. Sir, jump up and... What the fuck's your problem?
That said, aside of these quirks, I haven't encountered anything game-breaking, it's just a few kinks you'll have to get used to. This game isn't that, not by a long shot. Well, technically it was shut down, but you get what I mean, you're a smart cookie. During the times I was streaming, the player numbers which Return of Reckoning proudly displays on the landing page hovered between 500 and 600 concurrent players. For me that meant there were always random people to play with. Some even popped into my stream to offer help, and in the first few streams I received so much love from the community both in-game and on stream. Shout out to my arch nemesis from Stream 4, you know who you are and I fully support your disaster decisions. But let me introduce you to this legend, because it's my favorite story so far. This absolute hero took time out of his gameplay to give me a personal tour of the main city, showing me all the important spots. Sir, you are an unsung champion. By that point, my chat was mostly filled with veterans holding my hand and guiding me through the game. Even in-game it wasn't uncommon for someone to randomly trade me gold or gear once they realized I was a newbie. Honestly, this is one of the most welcoming communities I've encountered in years. If you're on the fence about trying this game, go for it. You'll find plenty of people willing to help you. Aside from a bit of saltiness in Tier 1 PvP, I didn't have a single negative interaction. In my opinion, every PvP-focused game has a share of overly competitive players who take things too seriously. Just ignore them and move on, you will be absolutely fine. So, where does that leave us so far? We hit the big milestone, level 60. That's it, right? We've seen all the game has to offer. Time to join T4 RVR battles and witness those epic fights I've been looking forward to, right? Right. But then this happens. No, not charging any more forwards. I'm still not a tank. A city siege. Ooh. And I'm thinking, yes, I want to siege a city. I ask my chat what I need to do, and it turns out you need to be rank 40 to join those. And in that moment, my brain had one very intrusive thought. I want. No, I need to see that. Now, you got to understand something about me and my brain. From this point on, I won't be able to rest until I've seen and participated in a city siege. Thanks, brain. So join me next time as we dive into the T4 experience in Warhammer Online, witness some chaotic battles, and learn how the skill trees work on the journey to level 40. Just a heads up, since we're talking about MMOs, capping might take a while. I might drop a few fun montages along the way, but the next essay won't be about Warhammer Online. I've got a first impressions video coming for a certain recently launched MMO. The finale of the Warhammer Online trilogy will be where the bulk of analysis happens. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, all the good stuff. And if you want to watch these adventures live, come and hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatbiologystudent. I'd love to have a chat with you. That being said, stay out of trouble, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.